services.
That money could help with debts or my funeral costs. I'll do it.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to India Global. We'll get you all the news and happenings from across the globe over the next hour. Stay with us. First up, the headlines. Hardeep Singh Nijjar's aide and designated Khalistani terrorist Arsh Dalla arrested in Canada. Court to hear his bail plea tomorrow. Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Saudi counterpart Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. The duo discuss second session of political, security, social and cultural relations of India-Saudi Arabia strategic partnership. DRDO conducts maiden flight test of its long-range land attack cruise missile with a range of 1,000 km missile launched from mobile articulated launcher. France considers acquiring India's Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher following its successful export to Armenia and strong performance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Sri Lanka will vote in a snap general election on Thursday called by the new president Anura Kumara Dissanayake to secure a majority in parliament to back his policies as island nation struggles to recover from financial crisis. The Canadian police have arrested designated Khalistani terrorist Arshdeep Singh Gill, alias Arsh Dalla, who has been under investigation in over 70 criminal cases for a shooting that took place in Milton Town last month. His bail application is up for hearing on Thursday, according to Ontario court records. Dalla, a close operative of deceased KTF chief and Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, is wanted by various investigating agencies such as the NIA, the Punjab Police, in criminal cases ranging from terrorism to extortion. My colleague Mohammed Ghazali brings us more. Ghazali, tell us how important is it for India to have the custody of Arsh Dalla now?
See, Rika, for the clarity of our viewers, India had obtained a red corner notice last year against Dalla. He was designated as a terrorist in January 2022, or 2 years ago. And despite obtaining a red corner notice against him, the Canadian authorities have not shared any details, though the red corner notice mandates that countries will share details about any designated or somebody who is wanted in one country or the other. But in this particular case, though the Indian authorities through their sources have confirmed that the person who have been arrested by the Canadian police in the shooting case in Milton Town is Arshdeep Singh Dalla, who is wanted here by Punjab Police, by the NIA, and he faces more than 70 cases by Punjab Police of extortion, killing or abetting killings here, or sort of sending men, recruiting people in India to carry out organized terror crimes. But Canadian authorities are tight-lipped about the identity of the person who has been arrested. They have not confirmed to any requests whether the arrested person is Arshdeep Dalla or not. Now, how he is important, because he is an aide of Hardeep Singh teenager, the person who was killed last year, and whose killing has already created a storm between the relations of India and Canada. And now after his killing, Arshdeep Singh Dalla was a person who was terrorizing the other community in India by making extortion calls, not just in Punjab, but in other states as well. Now, since he has been arrested as confirmed by Indian authorities, all eyes will be on the charges which will be framed against him, because he is perhaps charged for a shooting incident. But his name has cropped up not only in crimes in India, but back in Canada as well. We'll have to see that whether the Canadian police and the administration there walks the talk, presses stringent charges against Mr. Dalla, and whether they also share details with the Indian authorities here, because already a red corner notice has been issued against him.
Right. Thank you very much, Ghazali, for bringing us all those details. Now, in a major development for India's internet and telecom industry, Elon Musk's Starlink is set to make its debut, potentially transforming internet access for millions in India. Union Communication Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that Starlink is likely to acquire a license to operate in India soon. Musk will be taking on other industry giants, including state-run BSNL, in the race to offer ultra high-speed connectivity to Indian consumers. Let's talk about the impact of it and Starlink's coming to India with Sumesh Srivastav, who's a telecom policy expert. He is with the Quantum Hub as well. Sumesh, how could Starlink's entry impact India's broadband market, especially with current low internet cost plans by private carriers like Jio and Airtel?
So a very good evening. Thanks for having me here. So just to answer that question, so what Starlink would actually do is it will create a new dimension in India's broadband market, right? So I don't see it currently directly competing with our Jio and Airtel in the broadband market, because unlike traditional broadband provided, which relies on, let's say, your fiber optics and your cellular networks, Starlink is using satellites, right, to deliver internet connectivity. Now, this is something which can offer high-speed internet in areas where you can't lay down physical infrastructure. So while Jio and Airtel and all other players actually dominate the market with low-cost plans, that's primarily in your urban and semi-urban areas. So I think the use case for Starlink would be two. One is it would provide connectivity in the underserved areas where the other networks aren't going. And the other thing where I see them going is in niche segments where your internet speed, reliability outweighs your cost considerations.
Right.
So I think instead of impacting the plans offered by Jio and Airtel in the broadband market, this will create a niche in the market that currently does not exist.
And could Starlink's satellite internet services improve connectivity in rural and remote areas? Also, what economic impact would this really have?
So absolutely, like Starlink has the potential to revolutionize internet access in India's rural and remote areas. So what we've had in India's internet journey over the last 10-15 years is we've really come a really long way in terms of internet access in India. But we still have a large amount of the population that is not connected or doesn't have high quality internet access. And this is basically due to the high costs and logistical challenges in certain areas where you can't establish the physical infrastructure.
Right.
And satellite internet will bypass all of this and provide high-speed connectivity directly from space. So that's like obviously the first part, where it will definitely has the potential to improve connectivity. Now, the second thing that you asked, see, once we get internet access, like even if I remember the first time I accessed the internet, or if you remember it, it has a magical effect, right? And in today's day and age, internet is like a utility. Like you have your water and electricity, you need to have access on them to the internet. So it will enable digital education, telemedicine, e-commerce, access to government services. It overall will increase the quality of life for people who are currently disconnected. And yeah, it will open up a lot of economic opportunities, remote work, participation in the global digital economy. It will help local businesses learn more and more about what's happening. It can potentially help farmers learn about modern agricultural practices. And overall, it will really help to reduce your urban rural divide.
And as they say, data is new oil.
Yes, exactly.
But what really are the challenges that you foresee Starlink might have?
So, I mean, like you mentioned, in India, in terms of internet access and actually the cost of internet access in a way, if we compare with what's happening globally, especially when you talk about mobile internet, we are really spoiled in terms of we have some of the lowest data tariffs globally. So, I would say the primary challenge would be the pricing strategy because, and you know, everyone says this, India is a very price sensitive market. We saw that recently as well when Jio and Airtel increased their prices by a bit, a lot of subscribers then moved away to BSNL. And the cost of satellite internet equipment, like your user terminals and your dishes, like the initial setup cost, is high. And while we don't know what the monthly subscription figures are going to be, I would say that it is going to be definitely higher than what your Jio and Airtel are providing.
Okay.
So I think the main challenge would be first figuring out a pricing strategy, and maybe the other thing will be trying to find the niche in the market.
Also, one of the
Yeah.
biggest areas of concern is data security. How would Starlink really pass that test?
So, I mean, I would say to that one thing is that, and this I've read in media reports and on the NDTV website as well, that Starlink is in the process of complying with all the security and data localization requirements. So, I currently, it seems that the requirements that we have do not seem to be a challenge for them to comply with. They seem to be open to complying with the same, and that's also something the minister has talked about recently. The second point I would like to make is that when we're talking about, let's say, policy or regulation, currently we are in a journey where India's telecom regulation framework itself is in the process of being overhauled. So we
Right.
had the really old 1885 Telegraph Act, and last year we came out with the Telecom Act 2023, where the intention clearly is to modernize the regulatory framework and move away from licensing to authorization. So once we make that move, once we get a clearer framework from the government on how that's going to look like, then maybe some of these security conditions and some of these data conditions might not look the same as they look right now.
Right.
And I
right.
think the other effect this might have for our regulators and our policy is that to look at how do you accommodate emerging technologies which are maybe not restricted by geographical boundaries,
Got it.
while continuing to safeguard our national and security interests. So that's one trend
yeah.
that I think is going to emerge. But otherwise, I think given our current framework, they seem to be okay with complying.
Thank you for getting us all those details. With that, we will go into a very tiny break on the show. Coming up, France eyes India's Pinaka system. For all of that news, stay tuned.
Sadly, animal cruelty has reached an appalling high. It's the worst animal rescue emergency in our recent history, and we urgently need your help. The RSPCA is the only charity in England and Wales dedicated to animals of every kind. Without us, those facing serious abuse and neglect would simply not be saved. Like you, we can't bear to think of them suffering. That's why, despite the high numbers, we must reach them before it's too late. If you can help us carry on this vital work with a monthly gift, please call or text the number on screen now. Anything you can give would help so much. It'll help us answer more calls. It'll help us rescue more animals in danger and help provide them with the urgent medical treatment, food and loving care they need. I promise we will never give up trying to save every animal we can, but we need your help now more than ever. I can assure you, your gift will help save animals' lives every day. Please call 0800 234 6054, text SAVE to 82727, or visit our website to start your monthly donation today. Thank you.
जाने किसकी तलाश उनकी आंखों में थी, आरज़ू के मुसाफिर भटकते रहे। जितना भी वो चले, उतने ही बिछ गए राह में फासले।
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Now, New Delhi's Make in India defense production push is gaining momentum. In the latest, France is evaluating DRDO's Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher system to bolster its defenses. It is considered at par with America's HIMARS system and, more importantly, has been India's first major defense expert. My colleague Arjun Samar Mahendran tells you all that you need to know about the Pinaka system. Take a look.
Named after Lord Shiva's divine bow, the Pinaka rocket system was a replacement for the Russian Grad BM-21 rocket launcher. It was first deployed during the 1999 Kargil War. Pinaka played a pivotal role in destroying Pakistani positions on mountaintops. Speaking of specifications, it is a free-flight artillery rocket area bombardment system with a 38 kilometers range. It is worth noting here that a single Pinaka system fires 12 rockets from a multi-barrel launcher in only 44 seconds, while a battery can fire 72 rockets. On to the kicker now. Each launcher can be operated independently. Rockets can be fired individually or simultaneously in different directions. The launcher can operate in manual, remote, standalone, and autonomous modes. Now, the Pinaka is not a sitting duck. Its shoot and scoot capabilities enable it to escape counter-battery fire. The system is already in service with the Indian Army and has also been deployed along the borders with China and Pakistan. Pinaka was delivered to Armenia via Iran in 2023 to bolster its defense against Azerbaijan. Now, viewers, this is months before the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict broke out. A possible Pinaka sale would further cement New Delhi-Paris ties. After all, France is India's second biggest defense supplier after Russia. The recent Tata Airbus C-295 transport aircraft deal and the Rafale deal are testament to Paris and New Delhi's steadfast defense ties, which are only expected to increase.
Switching tracks to some news from COP29, which is underway in Azerbaijan's capital Baku. The atmosphere is intense as climate experts and delegates work against the clock to push for action. Scientists at the United Nations climate talks say carbon pollution levels are continuing to rise worldwide. Despite dropping in the US and Europe, this year the world is on track to put 41.2 billion tons of main heat-trapping gas into the atmosphere. That's a 0.8% increase from 2023, according to Global Carbon Project, a group of scientists who track the world's and countries' carbon emissions. The carbon pollution jump comes as several UN reports say the globe has to cut emissions by 42% by 2030 to possibly limit warming to an internationally agreed upon threshold. To discuss more on this, we are joined by Zerrin Osho Bamizai Raina. She's the Director of India Program at the Indian Institute of Governance and Sustainable Development. Thank you very much for joining us, Zerrin. Tell me a little bit about the short-lived climate pollutants, why they are important and how could they possibly impact India really?
Thank you so much for having me and a very good afternoon to everybody from Baku. It is day 3 of the negotiations here at COP29 and we are very closely following what has happened yesterday. There was a high-level summit on non-CO2 methane abatement, and what was discussed there was the second half or the 50% of the climate change problem, which is SLCPs or non-carbon dioxide emissions. SLCPs are the short form for something called as short-lived climate pollutants. They are different from carbon dioxide because unlike CO2, they do not last in the atmosphere for those lifetimes. Carbon dioxide remains in the atmosphere for about 100 plus years, whereas short-lived climate pollutants have lifetimes of anywhere between a couple of weeks to 20 years. 2 weeks for black carbon, while 20 years for methane. SLCPs are critical in our fight against climate change because they are the pollutants and the gases that are responsible for creating heat trapping environments. So when we look at India, a lot of the times we have seen that Delhi's temperatures have crossed 50 degrees centigrade in summer months. That is a result of growing significantly higher SLCP emissions. That is why action on SLCPs is critical.
Right. Now, Zareen, how is the ongoing discussion at COP29 putting a spotlight on the non-CO2 emissions? And what is India's role in these ongoing discussions?
So first time that methane was spoken about along with the other non-CO2 SLCP emissions, it was COP26. And here we are at COP29. And in 3 years, we have seen the spotlight on the second half of the climate change problem, which is non-CO2, be raised to the head of state level, to the top of the climate agenda. Just yesterday, we saw a summit that was hosted by the Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework on Climate Change, Patricia Espinosa, launching the need for a spotlight and the announcement of over $2 billion in financing for mitigation of SLCPs. We heard the special envoy from China, John Podesta, the climate special envoy from the United States of America, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Nigeria, Canada, and the UK, Minister Ed Miliband, talk about how countries must come together on fighting methane emissions, the growing methane emissions. Methane is the second most potent gas, greenhouse gas, after carbon dioxide. And on a 20-year period, it is 84 times more heat trapping than carbon dioxide. This is also going to have far-reaching consequences on the negotiations that are underway on the NCQG, which is the new collective quantifiable goal. COP29 has been touted as the climate finance COP. And this is where the money is going to be utilized, including the government of India. The stance has been that climate finance through these negotiations, which until yesterday, the G77 group of countries put a number to, which is of US $1.3 trillion, is going to be utilized. Resiliency and adaptation. This is where SLCPs come close. With the growing heat stress in India, decreasing agricultural outputs, and the huge benefits that it has on climate and public health, SLCPs are going to be forming a huge chunk of where the action is going to be put in. We also have seen that Delhi faces an air quality crisis each year. And every year there are measures put out by the government and nothing really conclusive happens on it. With discussions, including here at COP29, where we've seen the United States and China, which are the top two emitters of methane, come together, despite China being a developing country. And despite the fact that US and China are on most occasions at loggerheads with one another, shows the need for why SLCPs is important and the geopolitical ramifications of that.
True.
India needs to step up. India must step up given sheer size of the economy, the number of people that are going to be hit by the growing heat stress. There is a World Bank report that states that 34 million jobs are at risk due to the increasing heat stress. With temperatures over 50 degrees centigrade, we can also now look at India really testing the human survivability limits on heat.
Now, Zareen, what is the significance of the global N20 assessment report that was released yesterday? Tell us a little more about it.
And a very good afternoon to everybody from Baku. It is day 3 of the negotiations here at COP29, and we are very closely following what has happened yesterday. there was a high-level summit on non-CO2 methane abatement. Yes, yesterday at the same event, the SLCP summit, high-level summit, there was also another report, a landmark report that was released on nitrous oxide, N2O. It is the first ever global assessment on N2O, and it's critical because the report talks about the different measures that could be adopted by governments to reduce emissions of nitrous oxide by 40%. For our viewers, nitrous oxide is the emissions of greenhouse gases that come directly from the use of fertilizer and animal manure. And with 40% reduction, we can essentially equate it to 6 years of burning fossil fuel emissions. It is equivalent to burning 6 years of fossil fuels by the end of this century, 2100. And we can also look at reducing premature deaths of approximately 20 million people around the world.
Now, the chief executive of COP29 has been filmed apparently agreeing to facilitate fossil fuel deals at the climate summit. What are your comments on that?
Azerbaijan is a petrostate, and it is here where COP29 is being held. We just yesterday heard the Azerbaijani government talk about oil and gas being the gift of God. It is true that the Azerbaijani government makes a lot of its economy is based on oil and gas. So it is not a surprise that we have heard COP29 presidency talk about striking oil and gas deals. A similar story had come out of the meetings preceding the COP28 in UAE.
Thank you very much, Zareen, for getting us all those details. Now, switching tracks to another news now. Well, we do know that Mr. Jaishankar did have a meeting with the Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhad Al Saud, who arrived in New Delhi for a two-day official visit yesterday. External Affairs Minister met with Saudi Foreign Minister today. The leaders co-chaired the second meeting of the India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council, discussing key areas like defense, trade, security, and cultural ties. They emphasized the historic ties and mutual respect between their countries, pledging coordinated efforts to enhance regional stability and economic growth. The discussions also touched on the ongoing conflict in West Asia, reflecting on a shared commitment to peace and economic development in the region. Well, that's all we could pack into this edition of India Global. Thanks for watching.
Engage and excite your pets with Chuckle Chums from JML, the interactive dog toy that keeps your furry friends engaged with boundless joy. Just shake to activate and watch your pup's eyes light up with excitement. And it switches itself off when they're done. It's great for both dogs young and old. Choose from 2 adorable designs and treat your furry friends to engaging play this Christmas with Chuckle Chums. Only $14.99 from Asda, Argos, Dunelm, Tesco and jmldirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
As a dad, I know life's unpredictable. It's all fun and games until it's not.
You okay?
I want my kids to always be looked after. That's why I'm not putting things off anymore and protecting the life we've built by calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
Okay, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Move over Black Friday. At PlusNet, we always keep it pink because our great value lasts longer than just one day. Like full fibre, our fastest and most reliable broadband from just $25.99 a month. Switching to PlusNet is now easier than ever. That's a plus. And there's no activation fee. See how fast that wiggle is? We're even faster. Get our best price by coming direct. Offer ends 11th of December. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives. And after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on